So I had a little bit of a vision for today's video, and I guess to give you some context, like I think I want this one to be short and sweet, just me like chit-chatting about something that no one asked me to, but I want to anyway. My vision for this video is that it's like a coffee chat with kenz. So that's what we're gonna do, and I'm gonna try not to just like talk your fucking ear off. Today I kind of thought it would be interesting to talk about something that's definitely an interest of mine, but I don't have the opportunity to talk about it very much, which is romantic relationships. So I guess for context, or to establish, whatever authority I have on the subject, I'm engaged to my partner, Max. We've been together for over 6.5 years now. It was about 6.5 years, I think, in December. So like June of 2017, I think, is when we got together. We were in college. He was 20, I was 21. That's right, I'm a cougar. I know he's smiling watching this video because he loves to remind me how old I am. Anyway, so we've been together for a while. We live together. We're getting married next fall. All hunky-dory, happy goodness, whatever. Having been in a relationship for almost 7 years, with forever to go, I've definitely picked up a few tidbits of information, some knowledge that I'm sure will continue to kind of like morph over time. But there are some things that I kind of experienced at the beginning of the relationship that feel very specific to the beginning of the relationship, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I think the number one thing that I wish someone would have just like sat me down and explained to me at the beginning of my relationship was that there's like no one way that a relationship should be, like just point blank. There's not. And I think it's really hard when you're in your early 20s, or even if you're kind of like in a peer group who like don't have a lot of experience with relationships and like serious relationships, because I think that we all are a little bit victim to this kind of thinking that like there is a right like kind of relationship. There is like a correct way for people to like treat and behave with each other. And I'm of course talking about things that don't fall under the category of like violence. And the reason I say everyone kind of participates in it is because like I think I projected a lot of the fears about like my inability to recognize when a relationship is wrong or bad. I projected a lot of those fears onto the relationship, but it's not like everyone around me was like, you're projecting a lot here. But I do think that like in my early 20s, I struggled a lot to really believe that I don't know, I could kind of trust myself to make decisions. I could trust myself to like follow the right path. And I think maybe we don't realize when we're like younger in our like early 20s or like late teens that we do kind of, or at least like I didn't recognize that like I often sought like external validation for the things that I was doing. And there was kind of this natural progression, especially after graduating high school, in which like I realized I needed to kind of move away from living my life in an effort to like earn my parents' approval, because that was my source of external validation, and figure out what kind of life I wanted. And that's like a really scary thing to take on. And one of the ways in which it manifested was within my kind of long-term romantic relationship. I really struggled to believe in and take ownership of like the voice I had and like the choices I could make and voice in my relationship. And that's like coming from someone who had like a really great partner who was like great at communication and like kind-hearted and like open and like also serious about I guess just kind of like honoring the connection that we had. I don't know, I don't want to digress too much, but basically if you're in a new relationship, I would just kind of encourage you to really start asking like what you want, not how can I fit into this image of what I think he wants or what I think they want, because at the end of the day that's just like the only way that you're going to be happy. And I think that we shy away from that because like we fear rejection, and we fear like what it means if this person rejected us for like who we actually were. And that is totally scary. But one, it's way more satisfying to be in a relationship in which like that that person accepts you for like your full self, including all of your wants, desires, needs. And it's just like you're just gonna be happier. Not just because like that they accept you, but you're also gonna be happier because like you can be your complete self, and you can ask them to like accommodate what it is you need them to accommodate. And you can like really assess if this is like a good long-term partner for yourself based on like whether or not they are capable of accommodating that. And I also want to stress that this is not like, oh, like your partner's bad if they can't accommodate it. I think it's also like, it takes like time and maturity to like come to understand that if they can't accommodate you, that doesn't mean that you're bad for having been too pushy or demanding. I think, oh my God, I was so afraid of being the like pushy, clingy, like high maintenance girlfriend in the relationship. And I think there were always like two parts of me like duking it out. And there was a part of me that's like, no, fuck that. Like I should kind of ask for what I want. I should do this. I should do that. And just like, I think the part of me, especially like once I developed more of like a voice in my relationship and more like confidence and kind of my participation in the relationship, like that side had a little more conviction and like, no, like push past these fears because they're bullshit. But then there was also a part of me that's like, no, I just want to be like cool. I don't want him to like think I'm annoying or like high maintenance or just like whatever else. And I don't want people to look at us and be like, oh, like she's such a dick, or just those kind of thoughts were just kind of like continue to be, but like are just kind of like ever present. And like I just wish I'd learned sooner to like quiet them. Operating from this place in which like, you know, your worth is determined by someone's willingness to date you is just like not a way to be happy in a relationship. But I do think it's a default that a lot of us have because it, again, is really scary to face rejection. But if you are rejected in the face of like needs that you express or desires that you insist on, it's not that like you're objectively bad or that they're objectively wrong or toxic or whatever else. It's just that it might not be the right fit. I guess like the most pessimistic way I can describe like a successful romantic relationship is that you both learn what it is you're willing to tolerate in another person. This is I don't know why I thought this would be easy. It's not easy. I also feel like I'm making no sense, but also so funny that like I really want this concept to be like, oh, a light like little coffee chat with Kenz. It's like, no, fucking relationships and insecurity and all the things. But I'm gonna attempt to kind of wrap it up here and just be like, I guess I just wish that someone had stopped me, recognized the fact that I was relying on things outside of myself to determine whether or not my relationship was quote unquote right or good. And those things could be like societal messages, friends' feedback, parents' feedback, like you name it. Was just like desperately seeking some source of validation outside of myself that, you know, I had made the right decision in my relationship. And well, obviously like that behavior never led me to leave the relationship, thankfully. I do think I wasted a lot of time worrying way too much about it. And it would have been such a bummer if any of those things had led to me leaving the relationship, because it just would have been a symptom of like me not trusting myself. And I think, I don't know, as you like become an adult, and it's hard because as a kid, like you have to trust your parents to like help you survive because you like come out a little dummy who doesn't know how to like survive in the wild. Your parents teach you that. It's like, I guess you just need to like cultivate confidence around the fact that like your parents like taught you how to survive. At this point, like you just gotta trust yourself. You gotta trust your own instinct because like at the end of the day, no one is going to have all of the context, all of the nuance, all of the you name it that you will have as the participant in your relationship to actually accurately assess what it should look like. So when I look at other people's relationships, and like say I'm like feeling judgy, I think to myself, that's not what I would want. I don't then just like assume that it's like objectively wrong, right? Because like, I don't know, how could I know like the deepest desires of like, maybe it's like a friend who's in this relationship. Like, I don't know what their desires are. Like maybe this is really good for them in a lot of ways. And it just like checks boxes for them. And it's like, this is what they want. I can't assume that they want the same thing as me. And I can't assume that like what I want is like objectively right for anyone other than me, right? Because like we're all, you know, special little cookies who have our own sets of experiences and beliefs and values that just make it so like we're gonna want different things out of life, relationships, you name it. So in the same way that like I wish I'd been less reliant on other people to like help me determine the quote unquote like goodness of my relationship, I was so worried about it being toxic, which is such a joke. I mean, I guess it makes sense to an extent because we were in our 20s and we were like transitioning out of college. So like, I'm sure there were hard moments, but like, that's just life. But it was so far from a toxic relationship, which is why I laugh now. But in the same way that it was like dumb of me to think that like other people would have a better answer than my own. It would be dumb of me to assume that like my answer for what's the right relationship for any of my friends, anyone else that isn't me, it would be dumb of me to assume that my answer for them is right. It's not. Like they know what they want, and like we need to trust people. We need to trust, like I think women in particular get a lot of this pressure from the world to like not pick the wrong guy or to not allow men to treat them a certain way. And that's just like not a fair onus to put on the woman. Like I don't know, she like has agency. Like if she wants to put up with it for now, like that's her prerogative. Like don't just like assume it's because she like doesn't value herself. Maybe she has the confidence to just like kind of shoulder the burden of whatever bad behavior they're dealing with, but to see through it and to see like what about the relationship brings them what they want. So I think I can wrap it up there. I hope it didn't make absolutely zero sense. This is an experiment. I'm sorry. My coffee's cold. I have no shut the fuck up. I can just talk and talk and talk. But, thanks for listening. If you've made it this far, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed.